Hello, my name is Paige Kaser, and this is my historical figures presentation on John Locke. John Locke was born in 1632 and lived until 1704. He was born in southwestern England and went to school in Oxford. He was a successful student, but from an early age questioned the classical teaching strategies in his own schooling. He began to develop his own essays and works of literature, commenting on philosophy, education, religion, and much more. He eventually went to London and attached to the family of Anthony Ashley Cooper, who tied him into political things of the time. He acted as a physician and held government positions as well during his life, while writing some of his most famous works. He traveled quite a bit due to political persecution or personal reasons. Most of his later work concerned politics, theology, or educational theory. During the time of John Locke's life, a lot was changing in the political and social environment. During the time of his schooling, the teachings of Aristotle were famously used. Locke began to read and study the teachings of Descartes and Francis Bacon, which began to introduce new science and natural philosophy. Locke lived and influenced many through the Restoration of 1660 as well. The environment of this time was changing from religious intolerance and strict rules into one of less policies and greater tolerance of religion. He also lived through and experienced the Glorious Revolution, which ultimately changed how England was governed. It moved England from a strict monarchy to more of a democracy. Although Locke only lived through the early years of the Enlightenment period, many of his works that we will be talking about and ideologies impacted this era, giving a foundation for the rest of that Enlightenment period. In the midst of everything mentioned in the last slide, Locke's writings and teachings, especially on philosophy, were profound at the time and impacted many, crediting him as the father of liberalism. Published in 1689, Locke released an essay concerning human understanding, which broke down the process of humans gathering information. Locke is well known in this essay for developing the idea of the mind being a blank slate and gaining knowledge from experience alone. This ties into early education because he describes how children learn and adapt over time, and because there are no innate ideas, education looks wildly different. His stance is then, of course, that early education completely shapes a child's understanding of the world and of themselves. With his ties of philosophy and liberalism, he stated that a child's curiosity and liberty guide a child most, but that parents and educators must influence the child in a way to develop them correctly from that initial blank slate. He helps to establish the parent's role in a child's education, believing that their sole purpose is to procreate and educate, and that's from his political philosophical work, Two Treatises of Government. Locke's overall influence on early education was the general statement of nurture over nature. Locke influenced the education system to create meaningful environments to better children's learning. But because of the emphasis on starting as a blank slate, it motivated parents and educators to have more to buy into when investing in early childhood.